Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Anime Abu here, coming at you with part 11 of What If Naruto's Like Minato. And first and foremost, I just wanted to apologize for not posting over the last day or so because I was gone. I was busy with schoolwork. It's the last week, for me at least, of the second quarter. And I was making up a lot of assignments, and I didn't really have the time to sit down and put a video together. So I'm sorry, and I didn't want to make one tired. However, today is Monday. Today's Monday morning. It's like 12 o'clock. And yeah, I wanted to get a video out to you guys because I feel like I owe it to y'all for being patient with me, and I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys enjoy. But with that out of the way, yeah, I'm probably gonna record a couple videos tonight because I don't want to have to I want to be able to stock up a little bit so that I can post them even if I don't have the time to record. So I'm probably gonna record a couple videos tonight. Y'all don't need to know that, but hopefully I should go back to the consistency of every day. And yeah, leave a like, subscribe, comment. I respond to all comments and I heart all comments. And I like all comments and I appreciate the likes. And if you comment the secret thing at the end of the video, I will shout you out in the next one. So yeah. Without further ado, let's get right on into it. Boom. Zabuza was resting on a cot with a blanket over him. He did not like the fact that he had lost to Kakashi, a damn Sharingan. He hated its abilities, copying off the hard work and dedication he had put into learning his jutsu in a simple blink. His fist clenched in anger. He could not wait to tear that eyeball out and stomp on it. Moments later, a short man dressed in a business suit and two samurais as bodyguard entered the room and went over to where Zabuza was. So the terrifying demon of the mist is crippled after facing a few kids and a ninja. I don't think I'm getting my money's worth when it comes to paying you, Zabuza. Perhaps I should just kill you and spare myself the pain of losing any more money. The short man sneered at the bed resting Nin. Gato walked over to Zabuza and reached out to strangle him when a figure appeared out of nowhere and grabbed his wrist before ruthlessly twisting it. You will not harm Zabuza-sama. I won't allow it, came the hard voice of Haku, who twisted Gato's wrist further to the point just before the point of breaking it to drive his point home. Gato shrieked in pain and fell to his knees. Hands off our boss! One of the samurai stepped forward when Haku grabbed a kunai and threw it at them. The samurai dodged it as it got buried in the wall behind them. Seeing them distracted, she pulled out two of her senbon and threw it precisely at a point in both their arms that rendered them immobile. The temperature in the room dropped a few degrees as Haku whispered with deadly intent, I missed your vital points on purpose, so don't test me. Gato snarled as he got up to his feet after Haku released him. Insolent brat, you and Zabuza had better finish the job I gave you, or there will be consequences. With that, he exited the house, followed by his bodyguards, whose arms were still immobile. You didn't have to do that for me. I could have taken care of it myself if it came to that. Zabuza commented as he touched up on the kunai in his hands underneath the bedsheet. I was aware of that, Zabuza-sama. But as your tool, I must protect my master in any circumstance. Haku said with a smile. Zabuza sighed. In any case, I'll be back to full strength in 3 days. And when I am, his voice turned murderous, Kakashi will die. After getting outside, he walked to the spot he was training in since morning. There's something I don't get. His father was killed, and while that is obviously the cause of grief, why hasn't Inari moved on? Naruto asked Kurama as he neared the training spot. Kurama bluntly pointed out, not everyone moves as fast as you do, Naruto. While you quickly moved on from a weakling to making yourself stronger, you're one of the few people who can do it that way. A majority of people are afraid to let go of the grief and afraid that they will lose the connection that binds them to that person they held close. Naruto took his time to understand what Kurama had told him. He knew that whenever a person lost a loved one or a close one, they tend to hold on to that feeling for a long time. But it never worked in Naruto's favor. Holding on to despair, instead, he made a choice on what to do about it. Every time when he fell down and had difficulty in finding a reason to get up, he would forcefully shake himself out of that state and willed himself to get up, simply because he had no reason to stay down either. The purpose of life is to keep moving, and staying down in one spot defied that very purpose. Reaching the spot, he took a deep breath. With Kurama's help and dinner, Naruto had replenished a little less than two-thirds of his reserves. He was thankful for the fact that every time he spent chakra and replenished it, his reserves would grow, just by a tiny bit. In one instance, it wasn't even noticeable, but in the long run, it would be beneficial. He made a half ram and 40 clones appeared, smokeless and soundless. The clones divided themselves into two groups of 20 as before, and awaited their orders. Naruto thought for a minute and spoke. 20 of you work on the futon jutsu we learned today. However, I don't consider it mastered until I've managed to perform it perfectly with just one hand seal, considering how strong my affinity is. The group on the right nodded and flash-stepped away to a new location. Naruto turned to the remaining group. I'll be working with you all. We'll work on perfecting the Suiton Jutsu tonight. After perfecting it, we'll work hard on mastering it like the Futon Jutsu with one hand seal. Hi, came the chorus of the group. And so they began their training until all the clones dissipated and Naruto fell unconscious. Haku wore a pink kimono with red cherry blossoms and wooden sandals. He was carrying a basket and slightly humming to himself. While boys of his age would cringe at his choice of clothes, Haku had no such problem. In fact, he wore them so he could witness the absolute shock on people's face when they figured out he was a boy and not a girl. It was amusing. No, scratch that. It was always downright hilarious. After an hour of walking, he came upon what he was searching for. Kneeling down, he began to pick herbs. His basket was almost half full when he felt something off. Getting up and turning around, he watched the scene with mild amusement and curiosity. 20 feet away, he saw the boy his master had fought 3 days ago, Naruto. His mind supplied helpfully. From what he had seen in the fight, he was very skilled, both in body and mind. He knew how to perform elemental jutsus, which his master had told him that no genin is capable of. His use of them incorporated with them into his tactics, such as when he beat Zabuza's clone. Granted that the clone only held 1/10 of the original's power, the feat was nothing short of impressive. Sorry, I'm adjusting my mic. I don't know if you can hear this, but I'm adjusting it. It's about to fall out. The feat was nothing short of impressive. He had come up with a strategy to free his sensei on the fly and had landed 2 hits on Zabuza. The boy was extremely dangerous. The boy was lying down, limbs spread away from the body. He was not even aware of the birds that were pecking on him. Haku had an internal debate. He could either quietly collect his herbs now and leave, or he could kill him and save some trouble later on. He stretched his arms towards Naruto's throat, silently deciding to kill him now, and appeared, and swiftly to spare him the pain. I would advise against that. Haku jumped back in surprise and watched as Naruto's eyes instantly opened, as if he was not asleep at all. But his slightly puffy eyelid gave it away that the boy had been asleep, but woke up due to feeling his presence. Naruto took a few moments to shake off the drowsiness from his eyes before turning to address the girl. Jolting me awake hasn't been pleasant for anyone who's done that. Haku watched as he kept up to his feet before working out all the kinks in his joints, all the while completely ignoring his presence. Naruto worked out the stiffness in his body while simultaneously going over the results of last night's training. The group of clones practicing the Futon Jutsu were able to reduce the number of hand seals to 1 and execute it perfectly. Well, that's one good thing, he thought. He had the group of clones practicing the Water Jutsu had also perfected it. Naruto could now use Suiton, Suidanha, Water Style, Water Severing Wave perfectly with all 5 hand seals. In addition to that, he also had the Nidaime's notes on that jutsu to help him shorten it to just 1 hand seal. He finally turned to face the girl who found was quite pretty. So, what are you doing here? His question snapped Haku out of his trance, and he bent down to make it appear he was picking herbs. I'm picking herbs for a friend. He's quite ill, you see. Haku sincerely hoped his voice did not waver. Naruto, to his credit, only rose an eyebrow. Then you might want to avoid that herb. I've read it's quite poisonous, he said, nodding towards the ground. Haku looked down, and an embarrassed blush came over his face. He's going to pick an herb that was more suited to make poison than antidote. To cover up his embarrassment, Haku introduced himself. By the way, I'm Haku. Naruto extended his hand. Uzumaki Naruto, nice to meet you, Haku-chan. Haku inwardly laughed as he imagined Naruto's face when he revealed it was a boy. For now, though, nice to meet you, too. Naruto gestured to her basket. Can I help you in collecting those herbs? Naruto and Haku collected herbs to fill Haku's basket. Why are you collecting herbs so early in the morning, Nichan? Haku replied with a question of his own. What are you doing here so early in the morning? Naruto internally narrowed his eyes at the attempt to avoid the answer, but answered nonetheless. I was training in the night. Guess I fell unconscious due to exhaustion. Haku asked, so are you a ninja? Sorry, I'm raising my chair. Naruto shrugged. Wait. Naruto nodded with a smile. Haku gave a small, worried frown. But isn't that dangerous? What if you get killed? Naruto shrugged. I may. It comes with the territory. If I die, that means I was meant to. So running away from my death would be futile. If I was meant to die so soon, I would have been killed many times over already. Haku gave a small sound of understanding. I see. And why are you training? Aren't you strong enough? Naruto shook his head. I may be strong, but there's always room for improvement. Besides, becoming stronger means I'll be closer to becoming Hokage. He ended with a grin. Haku stared at him for a few moments and spoke. You train because you want to be strong enough to protect your precious people, don't you? Naruto gazed at Haku with something akin to respect in his eyes, his Azores staring into her light brown as he whispered, Go on. Haku knew from that moment he gazed into Naruto's eyes that Naruto fully knew what he was talking about. Nonetheless, he spoke. I believe that you have precious people and you are working hard to grow stronger to protect them. If you have something to protect, only then can you be truly strong. Naruto kept his intense gaze on Haku, who returned it without flinching. After a long moment, Naruto smiled and said, Never have I met anyone before, except my Gigi, who shares my understanding of fighting to protect. You have the most accurate idea of where strength comes from, Haku-chan. You have my respect for that. Haku smiled and stood up from where he was sitting and picked up his basket. You will become strong, he stated to Naruto before walking away. Time to reveal his secret. Oh, and by the way, I'm a boy, he said, turning to flash a smile at Naruto. He almost lost it when Naruto's eyes bulged to the point Haku feared they would fall out of his eye socket. Naruto couldn't believe it. He thought he was talking to a girl, a pretty one at that. Hell, even prettier than Hinata. He finally regained his composure. He narrowed his eyes at Haku, who was barely restraining his laughter. I bet you do that to everyone just to see their reactions, don't you? Haku shook his head. No comment. That was an answer in itself. Naruto thought as he watched Haku walk away. As he walked away, Naruto allowed his thoughts to process. Haku was obviously not a normal civilian. When Naruto opened his eyes, it was quick, but Naruto had managed to note that Haku had almost taken a fighting stance. The reaction was performed on instinct, which left no doubt that Haku was a fighter, and an experienced one at that. Second thing, Haku's chakra felt strange to him. While he was still refining his sensing ability to the point where he could sense people's affinities, he sensed the bare minimum. Haku's chakra definitely had water and something which was rough and sharp at the same time. The closest thing to describe that is wind, he deduced. But what did those add up to? Multiple affinities usually point towards the presence of a bloodline limit. Before he could continue his thought process, he sensed Sasuke coming to him. Putting on a smile, he greeted his teammate. Good morning, Sasuke. Sasuke grunted in response before saying, You missed breakfast, Naruto. Naruto blinked in response, then shook his head. He would go back to see if any breakfast was left. He always went crazy on an empty stomach. He walked past Sasuke, who was warming up with some stretches. Naruto had no doubt the boy was going to put his tips to the test while climbing the tree. Reaching the house, he went inside and found Tsunami washing the plates from breakfast. Hesitating a bit, he called out, Tsunami-san? The woman turned and smiled upon Naruto. Naruto-kun, you're back. Her smile turned into a concerned frown. Are you alright? You were training all night. What if you had caught a cold? Naruto shook his head, amused at the notion. He had never been ill in his life, courtesy of having the QB residing in him. I don't catch colds, Tsunami-san. I was wondering if you had any leftovers from breakfast? Tsunami's face instantly brightened. Oh, right, I do have some leftovers I saved in case you came for breakfast. Explains why it seems Sasuke-kun only ate a little. The last part was said in a mutter, but Naruto's sensitive ears easily heard it. What was that about Sasuke, Tsunami-chan? He inquired ever so politely. Should I? I'm just thinking because apparently this is supposed to be a really long chapter. So I'm thinking if I cut this in half, make this 40 minutes, and then do another video for 40 minutes, I'll just do what if Naruto was like Minato, part 11, and then part 11 and a half. Like part 11 and then part 11.5. And then bam, 2 videos in like a freaking 80-minute session. So yeah, you know? I feel like that'd be good. Because how long is this video going to be? Let me check. Because this video, okay, we're only at 15 minutes. All right, I'll worry about that later down the line. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. That might work. I think that'll work. I digress. Let's continue. Naruto blinked twice at that. That was probably the kindest thing Sasuke has ever done for him. Then again, I gave him the tips to master tree walking. He must have saved breakfast just to get even, Naruto thought, knowing extremely well that Sasuke hated to be indebted to anyone. Now, usually saving breakfast for someone was not that big of a deal, but since it was coming for Sasuke, Naruto would call it even. Sitting down at the table, he swiftly ate everything that Tsunami laid out for him. While not nearly enough to get him full, it was more than enough for him to call it a satisfactory meal. He finished his meal and washed his plate, easily ignoring Tsunami's protest. Stretching his senses, he found that Kakashi and Sakura was upstairs. He had already seen Tazuna in the room next to the dining room, so he thought that Kakashi was probably going to have Sakura guard him today. Well, that won't do, he scowled as he headed upstairs. He opened the room where he sensed Kakashi's chakra and saw that they were both ready to head out. They both blinked when they saw him. Naruto, you're back, Sakura dumbly asked. Naruto scowled even deeper. Very astute observation, Sakura, he commented sarcastically. Of course, Sakura blushed a little at being embarrassed by him. Naruto turned towards Kakashi, who was looking vaguely amused. Kakashi-sensei, can I guard Tazuna-san today? Kakashi rose an eyebrow at the new suffix, but he did not say anything. Thinking over, he thought that having Naruto guard Tazuna was an excellent choice. Naruto was the strongest of his genin, and he was easily able to hold himself against Zabuza long enough to escape. He didn't need to worry about him for another 3 days, unaware that the man would recover in just one more day. Also, Naruto had an excellent way of retreating should the situation get worse. He answered, I don't see why not. Have you completed the training you were doing last night? Naruto nodded. Kakashi nodded in approval before turning to Sakura. Sakura, you're with me and Sasuke today. Naruto will guard Tazuna. However, he paused and frowned as an uneasy feeling settled in his stomach. He didn't know why, but he trusted his gut feeling. You will return 2 hours early today. I have a feeling we'll be facing Zabuza much sooner than 3 days later. Naruto frowned but nodded. He would keep lookout for any trouble while Tazuna worked. His danger sense would come in extremely handy in that field. Don't forget about your training, Kurama. Oh, whoa. I read that wrong. My bad. Oh my gosh, I read that wrong. Don't forget about your training. Kurama reminded him sternly. I thought that said Kakashi for a second. My bad. Naruto nodded absently as he changed his clothes into an identical set and restocked his hip pouches from his sealing scroll. After double-checking that he was ready, he quickly exited through the window and briskly walked towards the front. We found Tazuna waiting. Tazuna looked surprised at his presence. You'll guard me today, Naruto? When Naruto smiled and nodded, Tazuna chuckled. Well, it looks like I have nothing to be afraid of. Now let's go. Already, I'm late. Naruto held up his hand. Wait a minute, Tazuna-san. I'll be back in a moment. With that, he flash-stepped away at the highest speeds to last night's training spot. Wasting no time, he created 90 shadow clones. The whole clearing was full of them. 30 of you will work on the Suiton Jutsu we perfected last night. The rest of you decide yourselves into groups of 30 and practice on learning and perfecting the 2 Suiton Jutsus I copied from Kakashi in the fight against Zabuza. He commanded his clothes. All of them nodded as one divided themselves, but Naruto was gone already. Appearing beside Tazuna so fast, the men yelped in surprise. Naruto spoke as if he had not noticed. I have a solution for your late problem, O-san. Not waiting to hear any protests, Naruto picked Tazuna up in fireman's carry and stepped away, the men's cries echoing in the distance. Appearing on the bridge in just 10 minutes, Naruto sat Tazuna down, who looked a little green. Next time, give me a warning before you do that. Naruto blinked innocently at that, causing Tazuna's eyebrow to violently twitch, but he sighed and walked away to start working. Grumbling about brats who are way too fast, Naruto only smiled and sat down, intent on working on his sensing abilities. This way he could train and keep a lookout for danger as well. While stretching his senses as far as he could, he reflected on what he saw on the way to the bridge. The town was barely alive, with all its people caught in the jaws of poverty. It's not a sight he wanted to see again. Children begging on the streets, even fighting amongst themselves for food. Naruto kept his senses active the whole time, trying and partially succeeding to make it second nature for him. Something that would keep running in the background by itself while he focused on more important tasks. Overall, it was an uneventful day, for which Naruto was thankful for. His clones had disappeared sometime in the afternoon, which was good. Suidan was considered mastered, as Naruto's clones were able to reduce the number of the hand seals to 1. Suitan Daifuku no Jutsu. What the fuck is this? Oh. Bro, what? public interview with hot girls. Yo, you tweaking, cuz. You tweaking. Where we at? Damn, yo, not less a spot, man. Come on, man. There we go. Suisan Daibakufu no Jutsu, Water Style Giant Vortex Jutsu, was surprisingly easy to learn and perfect. Considering it was a high A rank jutsu, it helped that it only had 18 hand seals. He would work on mastering it when he returned to Konoha, when there was no threat. Suitan Suryudan no Jutsu. Suiryudan? Something like that, bruh. Water style water dragon jutsu, that's what it's called. Was something he'll work on later. The jutsu was incredibly complex, consisting of 44 hand seals and requiring an extreme amount of chakra. While chakra amount was not a problem for him, he wanted to be cautious while he used it. So he did not waste a single drop of chakra while executing it. He took Tanjiro home by a flashlight. They were 5 minutes early of the assigned time Kakashi had given him. Going inside, he found Tsunami preparing dinner. "Hello, Tsunami-san." The woman turned surprise in her eyes. "Tosan, Naruto-kun, you are quite early today." Naruto shrugged. "Kakashi-sensei's orders. Anyways, can you please tell me how long before dinner is ready?" Tsunami smiled. "It will be 20 minutes, Naruto." Naruto nodded and walked outside, deciding to have a little fun. Walking over to where Sasuke was, he was not surprised to note the boy was easily sticking to the bark of a tree. "Time for some torture," he glinted. "Sasuke!" he called out, seeing the boy look at him. He motioned him to come over, which he did. "How about some training?" Moments later, Sasuke was standing on the side of the tree, a scowl on his face. "What kind of training is this, dope?" Naruto made a half ram sign, causing 5 shadow clones to appear, as well as causing Sasuke's scowl to become deeper. He greatly envied Naruto's ability to make shadow clones, and that too in no small quantity. He hated to admit it, but Naruto could spam more shadow clones than he could make regular ones, the ones that are an illusion. He had demanded Naruto once tell him the secret of the shadow clones. Naruto scoffed at him and bluntly told him that he had no intention of doing that. Besides, shadow clones require a lot of chakras, something Sasuke didn't have to spare. He may not have a Sharingan, but once he had it, he had every intention to copy Naruto's jutsus. But the problem was, for a Sharingan to successfully copy a jutsu, all the hand seals must be performed. Sasuke had noticed that almost all the jutsu he had seen Naruto executing, they were done with only 1 or 2 hand seals. The Shadow Clone Jutsu was only done with a half ram, which meant Sasuke could not copy any of them. He was not an idiot. Sasuke knew that Jutsu have multiple hand signs, which indicated Naruto was highly proficient in performing them with only 1 or 2. Quelling his frustration, he focused on what Naruto was saying. He had a very innocent look on his face, something that did not bode well. "The rules of this training are very simple. You have to remain stuck to the tree and not fall to the ground," Naruto said, choosing his words carefully. There was a loophole in what he said. He was curious if Sasuke could read between the lines. Sasuke scoffed. "Is that all? Then this will be easy." However, he was suddenly forced to dodge the shuriken that almost cut him. He was given no time to recover as a hail of shuriken came towards him, forcing him to dodge like his life depended on it. Naruto grinned savagely as his shuriken clones gave Sasuke no time to rest. He saw Sasuke almost fall to the ground, but he barely recovered in time. Deciding to give the guys some inspiration, he called out, "I don't see how this is easy for you, Sasuke. You're barely clinging onto the tree. You've got 3 cuts, which means you're dead 3 times over." Absently creating 5 more to replace those whose shurikens were finished, he added salt to the injury. "When I mastered tree walking, I could dodge them with my eyes closed." That did it for Sasuke. He was already sour about the fact that he was the last one to master tree walking, but he had to admit this training was good, excellent even. Naruto was forcing his body to make the tree walking almost like second nature, so he could concentrate on the more important task. But he did not need to taunt him like that. He growled and concentrated on sticking to the tree, then worrying about the shuriken. But Naruto gave him no time, forcing him to act on instinct. Naruto continued this for 15 more minutes. By the end of it, Sasuke was a sweaty mess lying flat on his back on the ground. He didn't even have the energy to glare at Naruto, who was looking entirely amused with him. "You son of a..." he wheezed out. Naruto shook his finger at him as if reprimanding a child. Now, watch your language. There are children here." The bastard was having too much fun at his expense. Abruptly turning around, he said, "Dinner's ready." He started walking, not waiting for Sasuke. Dinner was uneventful. The only amusing thing was watching Sasuke eat. The boy had attacked the food with the speed of a snail. He didn't have energy to even eat. After the dinner, Naruto was sitting at the table as Tazuna happily reported his progress. The bridge will be complete soon. Though I have to ask, why'd you guys stick around even after I lied about the mission? Kakashi folds his hands as if he thought about the answer. Not doing right when you know it is right is the coward's way. Those are the teachings of our previous Hokage. That is the way of the shinobi. We don't just work for money. Inari, who was looking down at his plate, looked at Naruto and immediately wished he hadn't. Naruto had his arms folded across his chest, eyes facing the ceiling, and a small smile on his face. He looked completely carefree, as if he had no worries. Flashbacks of his father triggered inside his mind. Kaiza, saving him, protecting him, making him happy. However, those thoughts only brought pain now. Something snapped him inside at that moment. Slamming his hands on the table. Let me get some water for this real quick. Slamming his hands on the table, he stood up on his chair. It was enough to bring all the attention in the room toward them. But he didn't care. He had enough of Naruto's carefree, indifferent, and bored attitude. Why are you trying so hard when you'll only fail? You can't beat Gato's men even if you keep training. No matter how you try, weak people always lose to the strong ones. Though it addressed all the ninjas in the room, somehow everyone felt that Inari was only shouting at Naruto. Naruto leaned on the table, chin on his hands, and an expression vaguely confused. It seems you're confusing us with the weak people, kid. He said, his confusion from earlier gone. However, Naruto was on a roll. Shut up. It pisses me off when I watch you. You're always fooling around, having fun. You don't know a thing about suffering and how hard life is for people like us. You only end up getting killed. Tears were streaming by the end of his shout. Kakashi had tensed up during Inari's shouting. To say Naruto doesn't know suffering, it wasn't possible to be more wrong. He expected Naruto to lash out and prepare to defend Inari, but nothing happened. Naruto was sitting there as if nothing happened. There wasn't a sliver of rage on his face. However, inside his mind, a storm was raging. His emotions were going wild, but he had to control them, push them towards a temporary goal. This kid needs a reality check. Keeping his voice even, he spoke. You know, you're exactly right. Kakashi looked at Naruto with surprise. That was the last thing he expected Naruto to say. The strong will always defend the weak. Gato, and by extension his organization, are weak. Nothing but a bunch of cowards who pick on people and who can't out up a fight. They can only win against those who don't have a will to fight back. Against us trained shinobis, they are nothing. A dangerous look crossed his face. I looked at even Sasuke, and Kakashi got terrified by it a bit. We aren't weak. Don't lump us in the same category as you. He scoffed disgustingly and turned his head away. We're nothing alike. Inari cried harder as he glared at Naruto even more heatedly. I'm glad we're nothing alike. I'd hate to be like you. You can't even have a care in the world. You don't know how hard life can be. The tension in the room was thick as everyone stared at Naruto, who, for the first time in his ninja career, felt truly angry. His azure eyes were as cold as the coldest ice, and anger swimming inside them. Though he held back from channeling killing intent, his eyes were just as effective. The rage in his eyes was enough to put fear inside Inari, whose legs lost strength and was forced to sit down. Look at yourself, bitching and moaning about life, thinking you have it hard. His voice was a whisper, yet it was so thick of rage that terrified his team. Kakashi felt his rage was justified. Tazen and Tsunami were wide-eyed. They had no idea such a sweet boy as Naruto held so much rage inside of him. Naruto straightened up in his seat. His mind went back to the children he had seen on the way to the bridge. The ones who had no doubt were orphans. You sit here with a loving family, with a mother that cooks for you, worries for you, and loves you, a grandfather that's building a bridge so this country can be free of Gato's reign. Naruto looked up upon Inari with clear disgust. Some hard life you have. Sakura finally had enough of Naruto berating Inari. She felt that Naruto was being unnecessarily harsh on the boy. Naruto, that's too far. That was all she had gotten out before Naruto pinned a fierce glare on her. Enough, enforced with killing intent. Shut up. Sakura was not so terrified of the killing intent as much as she was of the smoldering rage in his voice. She fell back like a bag of potatoes. Naruto turned his gaze to Inari. I'm willing to bet you've never stepped foot outside of this house. You've never seen the town, where children younger than you have lost their parents, both of them. He finally raised his voice and felt a dark satisfaction in seeing everyone flinch, even Sasuke. I'm glad I'm nothing like you. I actually decided to do something with my life instead of becoming a crybaby, sitting in a place and wondering how hard life is. Newsflash, there are people out there who have it far worse than you do. You're nothing but a coward who refuses to do something right. Even though his words were fueled with rage, his actions were anything but rough. He gently pushed his chair away and headed to the door. Kakashi asked him, Naruto, where are you going? Naruto did not look back as he replied, "To burn off some of this anger." The door closed gently behind him. Everyone wondered what caused Naruto to have such a reaction to Inari's words. Inari sniffled before he too ran out the door. That was a disaster, though not entirely unexpected, Kakashi thought. Putting his book aside for a moment, he followed Inari out the back where the boy was watching the ocean. "Do you mind if I join you?" asked Kakashi, startling Inari. Yo, what a part. Wait, let me see something real quick. Because if it's as far in as I think. You see, this is the thing. I could end it right here. Okay, I'm not. So the thing about this book is that there are some breaking points in the middle of the book, like in the book, where basically there's just like a line of X's and then there's two spaces on the end. So I was gonna end it at this line of X's where it was this breaking point, end of scene basically. However, I'm gonna be nice and give y'all a whole nother scene for, basically just like for missing 2 days of uploads. I'm gonna give this extra little X part, and then I'm gonna finish this episode off here, and then I'm gonna finish the chapter tonight and continue into the next episode. I'm just gonna split it up into 2 episodes and see how this format works, because I know sometimes it's more convenient to watch the hour-long videos, but also I know sometimes it's more convenient and it might be a little off-putting to have an hour episode. It might be a little more inviting to have 30 to 40 minute episodes as opposed to an hour and a half, which is basically what this part's going to be. This is a very long part. Like, I'm not even halfway through yet. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that instead. Plus, I gotta record a whole nother series tonight. Shoot, man, we better record a bunch of videos tonight. We better record at least 4 tonight, because it's 1 o'clock right now. It's late. So, yeah, I got school tomorrow, too. Like, oh, my gosh. Crazy. I don't want to talk to y'all about my struggles. My struggles aren't real struggles. I got it good, man. Shoot, I do. I'll be the first to admit that. I got it good. My biggest struggle is school. For real. At least right now, that is. All right, I'm sorry for rambling. I'm sorry for talking so much in the middle. Let's get this part over with. And let's get you guys what you want tonight so that I can bring tomorrow some more videos, some more stuff. I digress, and let's continue. Kakashi sat beside Inari, both looking out at the ocean. Naruto didn't say any of that out of spite. He's just a bit stubborn is all. Kakashi said gently, while Naruto had said... What Naruto had said was cold, bitter truth. The weight of those words was not something an 8-year-old could handle. Naruto was different. He had been handling such weight since he learned to walk on his feet. Naruto is just like you, in the regards that he has no father. That was a lie. Kakashi knew that Naruto knew who his father was, but Naruto had no memories of him. In fact, Naruto has no memories of his parents at all. They were taken away from him at his birth, so he doesn't understand what parents are. He also has had no friends along the way, he explained. Inari's head lifted up to Kakashi, confusion in his eyes. Kakashi continued. However, there wasn't a single moment when I saw him cry or get sulky. That was true. Naruto, until now, had faced the difficulties of life head-on and won, becoming stronger after defeating each challenge. He's desperate to make people recognize him, Kakashi said. Even now, when Naruto had a bored, indifferent expression on his face almost all the time, Kakashi could see it in his eyes, the hope that someone would recognize him for who he was, for all the world to see. Unfortunately for Naruto, the world acted ignorant. Kakashi chuckled softly. He got bored of crying at the world a long time ago. Inari looked down, beginning to understand what Kakashi was saying. Naruto was not born strong. He chose to get strong so he could live life in a better way. Naruto knows where true strength comes from, just like your father. In fact, Naruto might be someone who understands you the most. Inari was slowly understanding that Naruto might be the only one who is most similar to Inari. Kakashi eye smiled. The words that he said to you earlier, he probably told himself that over and over again. Naruto flashed to his training spot, fist tightly clenched. He felt a little bit of guilt creeping up over him for shouting at such a young kid, but that feeling was overshadowed by rage. The nerve of that brat! I don't know any suffering! He won't last a day living my life! He raged inside his mind. Kurama kept quiet, but was concerned for his host. He decided to let Naruto burn his anger off himself instead of talking it out of him. Making a half ramp sign, causing 100 shadow clones to appear, he was thinking about to charge in head first and eliminate them in the most brutal way he could think of, but visibly forced himself to think logically. This could be an opportunity for training. It slipped his mind completely that he would be too exhausted to go to the bridge tomorrow. He dispelled half the clones, causing the other half to look at him in confusion. We'll try to reduce the number of hand seals in Suiton Daibukafu no Jutsu from 18 to 10 for now. He could reduce them further when he was back in Konoha. The clones nodded as one and flash stepped to the nearest water body, eager on getting it done by tonight. As he flash stepped after them, he frowned and thought, I really should learn the body flicker technique. Flash step is good, no, but it's for short distance purposes only. Not to mention, I can quickly travel long distances, much faster than Shunpo. Also, the body flicker is good for traveling quickly to where I have it marked. As he saw the clones working, he considered the idea. I wonder if the Nidaime has a scroll written on how to draw water from nothing. It'd be incredibly useful in Suiton Jutsus and survival as well. The whole night, Naruto worked on reducing the hand seal of the Suiton Jutsu. He was able to bring it down to 10, but it left him incredibly exhausted. He was barely able to drag himself back to Tazuna's house, and as soon as he was in front of his futon, he fell face first, asleep before even hitting the mattress. That's how Kakashi found him when he woke up. He woke Sasuke up. He looked at Kakashi, who was motioning him to be quiet, pointing at Naruto. Sasuke understood, and they both quietly got ready. Heading downstairs, they found Sakura eating breakfast. On the table, her eyes held confusion when she saw a member missing. Sensei? Sasuke-kun, where's Naruto? Sasuke spoke up before Kakashi could. That idiot trained so hard that he knocked out. He won't be coming with us today. Kakashi nodded in agreement. They quickly had their breakfast and stood up ready to leave. Wait, where are we? Ready to leave. As they went outside, Kakashi turned to Tsunami. Please take care of Naruto. He's exhausted himself after training, and he won't be coming with us today. Tsunami frowned in concern. Are you feeling well enough, Kakashi-san? Kakashi rubbed the back of his head and chuckled. Yeah, I'm good. Tazuna nodded. Well then, let's be off. They walked away after that. So that is where I'm going to end it off here. That's exactly halfway into this chapter. This is a very long chapter, if you can't tell. So yeah, this is where I'm going to end it off. This was part 1 of part 11, I guess you could say. Considering that I'm going to be finishing this chapter off, I don't know if I want to title it part 12 or if I just want to title it part 11.5. I feel like that would be a little less confusing, but usually 0.5s are like half episodes, so I don't know. But either way, this is where I'm going to stop it before they go to the bridge, and basically, I'm assuming fight Zabuza. That has to be like the next thing left. So again, I apologize for not posting for the last 2 days. Was really busy with school and got a little lazy, so that's on me. I'm really sorry about that. However, I should be going back to daily uploads, and I will be recording multiple videos at a time in a session, unlike the one video that I was recording at once. This should hopefully eliminate the problem that I have where I basically, if I don't have time, then I don't have a video prepped, so I won't be able to post. So yeah, tonight I'll be recording a couple parts, but you probably won't see them until tomorrow. This part's going to go up immediately, but then 11.5 is going to go up tomorrow morning. And then part 2 of that series that I posted the other day, the What If Naruto Was Consumed by Darkness, is going to be up tomorrow evening. Also, if you guys could push that one, that video did pretty terrible. I said I wasn't going to end the series just because it does bad, because I'm still going to stick with that. I don't do this for numbers or anything like that. I really don't care if it does terrible. But I would have really appreciated it still, nevertheless. If you could go watch that and go support that, I'd really appreciate that. It'd be really cool to me. And, just, again, I'd really appreciate it. It'd be really sweet. But yeah. So I'm going to end this off here. Like, comment, subscribe. I respond to all comments. I heart all comments. I like all comments. And I really appreciate it. Much love. Deuces.